girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I like the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I like the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done.
It's the penultimate round of the Simrigs Sprint Series for North America from Zandvoort, and let me tell you something, after what happened last week, we have had a heap loads of change across the board. Hello everybody, my name is Nick A. Mullen, and I want to welcome you to tonight's broadcast. We've got quite the show for all of you at home. Hopefully everyone's been doing well since we last saw each other. It feels like it's been forever. But there has been some developments in the standings. So, going off of last week, we were at Mount Panorama, of course, a circuit that I am very much in love with, even if she does bite me a little too hard sometimes. We saw Renato Dornelis come out on top. The number 3 Lamborghini from Brazil, currently sitting P5 here in free practice. And then we had Marc-Antoine Landry, who is number 3. And then it was Skylar Lovebrink, who has set the fastest time right now here in free practice at 35:09. Possibly looking to grab a 34, either here or in qualifying. But that was your overall podium. In your Pro-Am category, it was Briscoe, Wilson, and Parody, and no amateurs showed up. So that is, well, a little bit unfortunate, but we do seem to have them coming back here tonight. Shirley, Parkinson, and Mike. 3 new drivers to the scene, of course, welcoming them on. But it was Dornelis that came home with the fastest lap, a 2-minute .78 for him. Not uncommon to see him running those kind of times or running that high up. So he's looking to do it again here at Zandvoort, but Lamborghini might handle a little bit differently here around a very tight circuit, of course. But we get to the standings, and that is where things get very interesting. So, we've had a change in the lead for overall. So it's Landry that's taken the lead from Dornelis. 651 points for the Canadian. Gives him a 70-point cushion to your previous championship leader. Dornelis is down to 581 points, and then Flomger is at 488 points, so he's sitting 93 back from Dornelis. Flomger right now is P4, so if that were to be the finishing positions, well, it really wouldn't do much. In the Pro-Am category, though, that is where we are still up in the air, very much so. It's Wilson with 245 points. That gives him a 1-point advantage over Briscoe, who has 244, and then Fermato is 9 points back at 235, but still very much in the mix right now. Could be seeing him do something here, if he can get that car sorted out and getting it pointed in the right direction. Everybody's in the pits right now. And then the amateur class, of course, it's Rob Jacques. He's not here right now, but that is A-okay. But yeah, Landry from second to first. Flomger closes the gap up by about 4 points. So not a huge improvement for him, but it is something. And anything can really happen here at Zandvoort. And then Wilson went up to first. Of course, Briscoe down to second. And Formato, the run he had last week, closed that gap up by 12, if you remember. Going into Mount Panorama, he was 21 points back, but his achievement there does bring him in closer. And we are getting ready to get qualifying underway. Of course, one quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring another season here of the Sprint Series. They've been amazing, of course. We love having them. This Melbourne-based sim racing supplier has got pretty much everything you need if you're looking to upgrade your rig, or maybe get some little goodies there for you. All of Australia, New Zealand, you guys are covered, and outside of that, send them an email. They'd be more than happy to do some business with you. And of course, all of you out there who are some of our OR Patreon members, you guys are getting 5% off your in-store purchases, so do take advantage of that. Sim racing equipment is not cheap at all, so any sort of padding to the wallet is going to be absolutely welcome. But again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season here of the Sprint Series. Glad to have them and hope to see them more in the future, but we are on track right now. It was Jonathan Clifford, first one out. Pretty standard procedure, if I do say so. I think 99 times out of 100, he is the first person who is actually out on this circuit. And he is just coming around the final corner now. Of course, here in ACC, we don't have the that bank corner that they have in the Formula 1 series or just any modern series running at Zandvoort. So that's okay. We'll make it work. Jonathan Clifford, though, leads us down into turn number 1, pretty deep into the braking zone, about 80 to 75 meters depending on what you're working with. You want to hug the inside as much as possible, and then up through this little quick left right. Those curbs are frighteningly tall. If you get on them, you are almost guaranteed to go around, of course, the cambered turn there. Another cliff on the inside to make sure you aren't cutting it, and then you get to this very nicely flowing left-right section as you crest the hill and come back down. Of course, you do have to brake and drop a gear here, but if you're in something like a Formula 1 car, you could probably go roughly flat out. And then you go under the banner here. This little complex here, kind of tricky for me. There's a patch of dead grass on the inside that I use as a brake marker. Really easy to just miss your brake point and miss the apex and lose a ton of time. But for Clifford, it seems as though he's done his homework. He is hooking up quite nicely with these apexes, using as much of the runoff as he can, maximizing the exit, maximizing the amount of speed as well into this sort of chicane almost. You're braking right as the curving starts. You got to be careful on the inside of the entry. You will absolutely send the car into a spin if you get a little bit too ambitious, and the inside of that sort of subsequent corner can also do you in. And as we come back again to the final corner, it's crucial to get these apexes right. We saw it a lot in EU. A couple drivers just running it out wide. Not quite a disastrous thing if you do run it wide, but it will certainly make things a lot more difficult. But Clifford puts in a 35.22. That is enough for provisional pole, but the rest of the pack should be coming in here rather quickly. Dornelis, just under 2/10. Pierce, just a little over half a second. Roscoe keeps it within the 1 second margin. And it's Thompson and Portis, just outside 1 second. Love Rank, a very strong answer, a 135.26, just about 400ths behind the 999. We also see, I believe that was Carpenter and Formato. And Shirley, one of the new drivers, Shirley, getting ready for some exquisite racing here in the 458 McLaren. Currently sitting in P14. Dave Hasser is slowest of the bunch, but that is immediately bested, if you will, quote-unquote, by Mark Clean. Again, another new driver here in the North American Sprint Series, the 99 Ferrari. Seeing what he can do. That just leaves Edson Mike, who is still in the pits. There's Eduardo Sanchez and Tim Parkinson for Great Lakes Racing. I can only imagine where he is in the world. Crosses the line. He's 18th fastest at the moment, 39.38 for the 647 Aston Martin. Another debutant here in the Sprint Series, and hopefully in more seasons to come. It's right on board here with Renato Dornelis in the number 3, who is currently sitting in position number 3 at the moment, although he has got quite a lot of steam under the hood of his Lamborghini as he is heading down towards the timing line. We'll see where he comes out, and he is gonna break the 35 barrier. Goes a 34.925. So the Brazilian, the first person to slip under 35. Lovrink almost did it in free practice, but was not able to do so. But because of his efforts, Dornelis has a 0.3 of a second gap to both Clifford and Lovrink. Pierce still sits under half a second, and Landry goes just over that. Keep in mind, Landry is in the lead of the championship. That gap is 70 points. If these positions stay where they are, and Dornelis somehow finishes on the top step, and, well, a certain Canadian named Marc-Antoine Landry finishes in P2, just did that. In the meantime, has to shut me up. Honestly, I don't blame him at all. But keep in mind, the winner of the race gets 150 points. Second place is 130. So that would only close the gap up by 20 points going into the Nürburgring, which would be not as much. Dornelis, of course, would want to look for some more space between him. If he wanted to close the gap up by 70 points, Landry would have to finish 8th or lower. And if I know Landry, he's not going to do that easily. Of course, drivers do get bonus points for their qualifying position. 5 points for your pole sitter, 4 for second, 3 for third, 2 for fourth, and 1 for fifth. And then the fastest lap does get an additional 3 points. So the max you can come home with is 158 points. And Dornelis currently has 5 of those points on hand. Austin Carpenter going up a little bit quicker. Going 12th for Alpha Sim Sport. And they're 883 Aston Martin. Ben Keogh, another driver we've seen a lot of here this season and seasons in the past, goes up to 11th around Shirley and Carpenter, and Thompson a 136.29 for the 33. I know his license plate says not fast, but he's certainly fast enough to skirt around his opposition. We check in right now. Braden Thompson from Canada, currently 12th position. However, he does have a pretty good run here as he comes around the final corner. A couple tenths currently on the Delta that could put him in front of Formato as he does find a little bit more time. But how much is it actually going to be? He goes 8th fastest. I didn't even realize just how rapid that was. A 35.9. And Dornelis improves further with a 34.882. I don't know what that man is on, but it is something amazing. Michael Formato, the number 11, in 11th position. Although his Delta looks amazing right now. 0.4 of a second. Does that put him ahead of Thompson? It certainly would, but how far up the grid is he looking to go? It looks currently about 7th. Oh, he just lost a couple tenths. He just lost a couple tenths. He was about half a second up, and now he's only 3 tenths, although it is still enough to go around Wilson Fernandez and take over position 7. So 7 for 11. Quite convenient, if you ask me. Ben Keogh, another improvement coming out of him. As he crosses the line, it does improve by a tenth, but doesn't move anywhere. Just builds a gap up to parity behind. Braden Thompson, couple tenths. Same with Brian Rasco. We're going to keep an eye on both of these guys as they find their way through the circuit. Of course, a very tricky section that Thompson is going through, but does it quite nicely. You see Eduardo Sanchez getting out of the way for Dornelis there in the background. And as Thompson comes to the final set of corner, he's found a couple of tenths, actually. And he could go quite a ways up the grid, actually. If he can just get an extra tenth, he could go even further. As he crosses the timing line, it's P6 for the Canadian, a 135.47. That's a massive improvement. So now we check in. Brian Rasco, what can you do? He has a very similar improvement. A little wiggle there on the back end. So much torque on the McLaren. We saw a couple of them spin in the EU race, although Brian Rasco does go 8th fastest. Has 5 thousandths between himself and Formato, but about 2 tenths up to Flomger. Back into the pits for him. Edson Mike there in the Lexus, the number 77. He is still waiting for something. I'm not quite certain. So Eduardo Sanchez currently out on a flying lap. He's had a couple of attempts already, but they've have not gone his way. We did see him pull off to the side to let Dornelis through. So let's stick with the number 21. See what he's got planned. How high up the grid can he go? Of course, his last lap time was 3:12, but that was because he did have to pull over, let some people through, and was coming out of the pit. So Sanchez, the floor is yours. Throws it a little deep into the corner. This is breakpoint by just a couple of feet. That's what can happen, especially somewhere like there. You just miss it by a little bit and you're gone. Takes it a bit easy through the final corner. Still has 4 minutes, a couple more laps for him to try and find some extra spacing. But onto the main straight. We're going to see where he pops out. Currently crossing the line, goes 13th fastest with a 135.89. Just 8 thousandths of a second of being off of the pole sitter by 1 exact second. Dornelis is back out on track. He is trying to find a little bit extra time. We're going to leave him alone, let him do his thing. Marc-Antoine Landry in the Audi. What a season he's had, of course. As he comes to the final couple of corners, he is pretty much even with himself. But if the improvement is what it was just not that long ago, we could be seeing him go into the 34s across the line. And it's a 135 exactly on the money for the 7-Eleven. That is nice. That's a great little lap there. Very impressed. And we have Jorge Nunez joining us here on the grid. A little late to the party, so he's going to have an out lap and a flying lap. That Porsche bouncing around, so he has got to get moving now if he wants to get any sort of time in, because that clock is going to tick down faster than you think. Renato Dornelis, we're going to join him once more as he comes through final corners. You can see how wide he's running it, how much confidence he has, not only in himself, but also the car, also the setup. Onto the front straight once more, crosses the line, and it's a 134.777. He is definitely feeling lucky here tonight as he finds a little bit extra time. This man is unstoppable. Thomas Pierce as well is on an improvement towards the end of his lap, although hold on, Landry's finding some more time. Could he spoil Dornelis' party? He's a couple of tenths up right now. You do see the Honda just in front of Portis. I'm sure that Honda not feeling what he wants it to be. A slide there from Landry, and that's going to destroy his lap. So he is going to have to go and do one more. And this will... oh no, he's going to have a little bit extra time. I think he just made it to the line. If he can get this lap together nicely, he should cross the line with about a second remaining. Mike and Nunez. Oh, Nunez is out. He's out of the pits, but I don't think there's enough time for him to reach the finish line. I think when he gets there, it will be the finish line. It won't be the timing line. So that is going to be terrible, and he's got to let traffic through. I think he was spending time messing with the setup. So that, I don't think he's going to get a chance to put a lap in. Maybe just get his footing, just get a feel for things and then go. Austin Carpenter, he's got an improvement going on here. Does just swap places with Kevin Parody to go 14th fastest. The Canadian still in the pit lanes. I think he's done for this qualifying session. We do have Wilson Fernandez, also from Vacuum Racing. Him and Dornelis teammates here this season. We do see one of the Lamborghinis off. I believe that was the 144 of Thompson. Just getting out of the way, probably destroyed his lap and decided that he wasn't going to bother trying to get it done again because, well, time's up. But Fernandez should get back to start-finish line with a few seconds to spare, so if he wants to go faster, he's more than welcome to. He's got a handful of tenths right now, currently sitting in position number 12. How much further up the grid does he move? He's lost a couple tenths, though, out of the final couple of corners, but it is enough to go into the top 10 with that 35.62. And he is going to give it one more shot. Time is up for these drivers. Let's see who's out on grid. The 131 of Pierce crosses the line, doesn't move. The 52 there, that is Loverink into the pit lane. The 717 of Nunez again just gets a sort of a consolidation lap. Really, hasn't done anything. You can see the 21 there of Sanchez had a blunder somewhere in the run, and he is not going to be able to improve. But somebody who could possibly continue the trend of improving is this man right here, Renato Dornelis. He's found still more time. I don't know what he's on, but this man is just finding tenths here and there and across the board. He has a 34.69 right now, but what's he going to do now? It's a 34.56. Dornelis on a whole nother level. He's in his own league, it looks like. Timothy Flomger, a couple of tenths for the 19th Alpha Sim Sport Porsche. But is he going to find a little bit more time? Crosses the line. He improves by a couple of hundredths, but stays 5th overall. Let's look. Wilson Fernandez, the teammate of your pole sitter. I don't think anybody's close. Clifford's in the pits. Landry is out on circuit. We'll see what his improvement looks like, if there really is an improvement. Onto the front straight, Fernandez goes. The 888. Could he possibly go position number 8? I don't know, because his improvements are looking amazing, and into the top 5 for him. Marc-Antoine Landry doesn't improve, but stays in position number 3. We have got a fight on our hands, although I think a certain somebody might spoil the fun a little bit. I'll have to wait and see, but ladies and gentlemen, it's time for my favorite thing, my favorite part of the broadcast, and of course that's going to be this right here, the grid walk. Always nice to see the liveries out and about in the action. But Lovering, excuse me, Dornelis, he's just an absolute beast right now. But Dornelis on pole position, another one for the Brazilian, familiar territory for him, and Jonathan Clifford, the 999 Lamborghini, makes it a Lambo 1-2. You just saw Marc-Antoine Landry improve his lap, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to move up, so he'll be starting position number 3. It's Lovering who's got to keep him company there on that second row of the grid. Still very familiar territory for all of those guys. Wilson Fernandez just pipped into the top 5 right at the end there, so he's got some work to do if he wants to catch up with his teammate. It's Flomger, Pierce, Thompson, Formato, and Keogh that round out your top 10. Brian Rasco and Kenneth Portis are going to start us off 11th and 12th. Portis, of course, in the Honda for what seems like forever has not been his best friend. Eduardo Sanchez getting a good lap in to finish in position 13 at the end of qualifying. It's Austin Carpenter, Kevin Parody, and then Shirley Passer. That is 15, 16, and 17. It's Mark Clean, the debutant, along with Parkinson and Edson Mike. 18, 19, and 20, and then Jorge Nunez, of course, will be rounding us out in 21st. Didn't get a chance to set a lap, of course. He was a bit late to the party, but he, well, just went out, got his bearings, and he is ready for tonight's festivities. One final look at all of the liveries, of course. Got some great ones out there. You always got to admire the creativity, we'll say, of these drivers. Of course, Sanchez's 21 McLaren, that's always going to get a laugh out of me. I don't know the character, I just find it funny. But yeah, these guys should be getting ready. These final setup changes should be coming in. And again, this is the penultimate round of the North American Sprint Series. For the overall championship, Landry is ahead of Dornelis by 70 points and is right behind him on the grid. That's the 711 Audi and the number 3 Lamborghini you're going to want to keep your eyes on. For Flomger, he's pretty much over and out, so he's just got to worry about making the 4th place driver stay there. And then the real meat and potatoes here of this championship, though, is that Pro-Am category. Wilson with 245 points, Briscoe with 244, and Formato with 235. 1 point separates first and second, 9 points separates second and third. Formato's finish last time out is what's closed that gap up. And then for amateur class, it's pretty much all done and dusted because of shock. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we get this formation lap going, and one final quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring the season here of the Sprint Series out of Melbourne, Australia. They've got all of that amazing little continent sorted out, along with its neighbor, the Kangaroos and the Kiwis. You guys are always best of friends, and of course Simrigs is going to do just that and keep the friendship going. If you're like me and you happen to live outside of those borders, maybe you live in North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, wherever it may be, if you send them an email, they'd be more than happy to do some business with you. And of course, our OR Patreon members do get 5% off their in-store purchases. Sim racing equipment is not cheap, so I would highly advise you to take advantage of that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out on track right now. And, well, Dornelis has quite the gap, if you will, to those behind. I'm sure the race director probably calling out for those gaps to get closed up before the race starts. We're still single file, though. Eventually, it will be called for double file. But if Dornelis' quali is anything to go off of, he may just drop a gear and disappear for Clifford, though. He's going to struggle to keep up. Landry as well. He's going to have to be careful. One misstep, and that could be his championship. Lovrink as well, trying to stay in that top 3. Won last season, but wants to do it again. And you see Fernandez as well. Did sort of catch up to his teammate there in first position. There's 3 cars between himself and those top rungs. It's Formato, top class for Pro-Am, and then Parity and Hasser are separated by Shirley there, the 458. McLaren is what keeps them separated. Clean way down there. 99 prorated Ferrari, and then it's Parkinson's Mike Nunez rounding it out, but we are side by side. An hour race, no mandatory stops. There's a slight change in that over the week, so 60 minutes ahead of us. Can Dornelis do lights to flag? Can Landry hold on to his lead for another week? This will lead us into Germany, into the Nürburgring. Ladies and gentlemen, it's green, green, green here at Zandvoort, and it's an amazing start there from Landry already. A little double side draft there from both Lamborghinis as we head into turn number 1. There's Lovrink on the grass. There's contact in the background. It looked like Wilson Fernandez made contact with a fellow Ferrari up ahead. You can also see, I believe that's Braden Thompson catching a few positions here at the start as Fernandez goes very deep there. Almost makes contact with him, with those in front. Yeah, Braden Thompson, what a start he's had. Ben Keogh chasing down this Ferrari. You see the McLaren there in the background of, I believe that's Sanchez, or no, Rasco, trying to go around the outside, but isn't able to get it done. You can see a lot of chaos in the background. Drivers sort of dipping and dodging their way through the road, trying to dodge what they can. There was a side-by-side with one of the, I believe that's the Porsche there of Nunez. But the real story right now is Dornelis sticking with the lead. Landry has gotten around Clifford, however, so immediately improves 1 position. 150 points for first, 130 for second. So even with the win here, Dornelis still has a pretty significant gap that he has to overcome. Let's look out the back here of Timothy Flomger. You can see Lovrink behind, very racy there in the 52 Ferrari. Of course, the Porsche. Oh, a little slide there. I think Flomger's got a little bit eager on the throttle. That's going to mess him up a little bit, but shouldn't lose too much speed as we head onto the front straight. Currently, Dornelis leads from Landry, Clifford, then it's Flomger, Lovrink, Thompson, Fernandez, Keogh, Formato, Portis. That's your top 10. From there, it's Rasco, Pierce, Shirley, Sanchez, Carpenter, Hasser, Parity, Klein, Nunez picking up a couple positions, Parkinson and Mike getting relegated down to the back of the field. And Shirley goes door to door right now. Sanchez forces the issue. I wonder if the stewards will maybe have something to say about that. Meanwhile, Austin Carpenter goes toe-to-toe with Dave Hasser and does lose out on that. The Craft Inner Racing number 921 Ferrari does go through, and it looks like Kevin Parity might have thought he had some space to work with, but a little too far back, so he is just going to keep it neat and tidy right now. So we head down the hill, right on board here with Carpenter. Right now, he has settled in very nicely to P16, but of course he wants to go for a little bit more. Kenneth Portis does have Rasco behind him right now, and the other McLaren there of Pierce, and I think there was Sanchez just a little bit. There he is in the background. So 3 McLarens chasing down this lowly Honda. Of course, the Honda did get a bit of a balance tweak in the 1.9 update. Got it reeled in with the rest of the pack. So not as rapid as we're sort of used to seeing it. I'm sure everyone remembers times where half the lobby felt like it was driving in a Honda, and I am certainly guilty of that. I'm going for the race win, and so is everybody else. Shirley makes up a couple position. There's Parity. I don't know what happened. He must have gone off somewhere. But he has lost some positions. I believe Carpenter as well has gone off. So Carpenter's right here in the back in 20th with Edson Mike. So not certain what happened there. It was a little bit beyond what I could probably see with the replay, other than inputting a custom amount, but that would probably take away from a lot of the action, and I don't have a second computer set up, so I can't do what Mullick does and run 2 instances of the game at the same time and get all the fun angles. But right now, Brian Rasco in a bit of a predicament. He can't go faster and he can't go slower. His lap time, in fact, compared to Portis, was 2/10 slower, but to Pierce, it was 3/10 slower. So he's going to do what he can to try and just close the gap up, while also making sure that he doesn't give Pierce an opening. Pierce, the kind of driver to just, you give him a little bit, you give him an inch, and he's taken your position and probably the position of the next guy up. Left rank still stapled to the back of Flomger. Both drivers doing a very good job so far of keeping it in the right direction. Just up ahead, you do see Jonathan Clifford and Mark Landry, and Dornelis. He's opened up a gap right now. So Landry, despite his best efforts, has not been able to find the same sort of pace that he found over Clifford. Lovering was a bit later on the brakes. He did find a little extra speed, but I think he had to stand on the brakes a little longer than he would have liked. He misses out on all of that, tries to keep it close. Flomger almost running into the grass there. There is a slipstream. Lovering is going to be closer, but not close enough for a move. Just lifts. Gets on the brake into turn number 1. His last lap, a 36.32 compared to a 36.46 of Flomger. So he definitely has the pace. It's just a case of, well, catching up and getting around. It's one thing to catch the driver. It's another thing to get past them. This little 3-pack here, though, keeping us in the mix, and Michael Formato as well on Ben Keogh. Keogh's last lap was a 36.74. Formato's a 36.75, so these guys are neck and neck right now. We'll see if Formato finds a little extra time, or if it's Keogh that does. Right now, he has lost a little bit. He got a little gun-shy into the braking zone, just backed off. Wilson Fernandez down in 7th position. He had that very just awful start, it feels like, for him. From 5th place down to 7, dropping some positions, made some contact, but thankfully nothing's happened. We've had Shirley off. Shirley's gone off. I'm not certain what happened as we come through. We'll see. Oh, he just completely misses. And then, does he spin it? No, he doesn't. He does come back out on track in very terrifying fashion. We'll see if the stewards have anything to say about that. But we saw that in the EU split, drivers in the McLaren, there's just so much torque in this car that, you know, you just get on the throttle a little bit too early or a little bit too hard and you're going to go around. Carpenter gets by clean in the meantime. Look at Portis still struggling to shake Rasco. Rasco's last lap was 2/10 quicker, so he's finding a little bit of pace now. These tires, these brakes coming up to temperature. Braden Thompson, there we go. Game had a bit of an error. But Wilson Fernandez, let's see. Fernandez, a 36.32, 36.47 for Thompson. It's only a couple of tenths, but he's got to do everything he can as Portis is having some issues. I think everybody might be having some issues. The server might be experiencing a little bit of a moment, as there's really no connection bars, it looks like. Everybody's teleporting except for Rasco and pretty much anyone else I look at. Except for these guys right here. Seems that the McLarens are the most well-behaved in terms of server stability. Yeah, Landry's teleporting. Clifford, though, is very close, so we'll keep the PowerPoint show going. Oh, never mind. I guess we're not keeping the PowerPoint going as everybody's connection to the server stabilizes. It's always a little scary when that happens. Clifford, I don't know if he backed out or maybe he just got a line wrong or something, but from 3/10, he's now 8/10 back. So that has not gone all too well for him, so a lot of single file racing right now, a lot of the long game being played. If you can't catch the guy in front, at the very least, try to keep the guy behind you from passing you. But we are going to be playing a lot of the long game right now. Pretty much from, I'd say, here on out. Of course, Dornelis already opening up. We just lost the gap. I think it was 2 seconds. 2.1 right now for the Brazilian. And he's still got 51 some odd minutes to go. if he wants to come home on top of the pile. Jonathan Clifford has found some extra pace right now. Everything he can, really, to pull in. He's a 10th faster on that last lap, and his best lap is 300th quicker than this man right here. But right now, it's really not showing it because he's losing a pretty significant amount of time. Check back in. Brian Rasko. Look at the gap to Portis. It has not been too good for him. And Pierce has been catching up. Rasko, I think, had a mistake somewhere. His time is very slow comparatively. 37.46 for him compared to the 36.91. So he must have had a bit of a slide somewhere. Maybe having to slow down a little bit extra. But despite that, has not let it deter him from his goal of catching up to Portis, although the lap time is still 3/10 down. Let's check in with Mark Clean right now with Austin Shirley, two of the newest drivers here in the Sprint Series, trying to see who of them is actually going to be the better. Right now it is Clean making the run here. Oh, very deep into the corner for both of them. But both gathering it up quite nicely through this section here. Really got to be careful of those cliffs they call curbs. Like I've said, they can and will just completely throw you off, and there is nothing you can do at that point. You're a passenger, and if there's a whole heap of cars, well, you are probably going to collect at least 2 or 3 other people. These drivers very good about not letting that happen. So we've got Sanchez spun around. So we look from up above. This is down the hill into a very familiar section. Oh, he slides first. And then I think, yeah, he does it again. So Sanchez, again, this McLaren, we've seen it. Not this one in particular, but just the McLarens in general. Like I've said, just too much torque, a little too early, a little bit too eager. And you are going to be sliding around. He did catch the first one, though. I will give him points for that. But it's always that second one that seems to get you. Mark Clean still with a McLaren breathing down his neck right now. Oh, and it looks like Shirley could have a run here as we head onto the front straight on the inside. He goes on that racing line. He will have the slipstream. We'll see how much of an effect that actually has as we head down into turn number 1. He pulls to the inside, but not close enough, just showing himself, making sure the 99 knows that he's there, and that he is not going to make this race easy, not at all. Tim Parkinson in the pit lane, not certain what that's all about. Oh, Shirley on the grass almost loses it, but the skill he has does not allow that to happen. We'll check back in later. Landry and Clifford right now still locked in a battle for position number 2, and behind them it is Flomger and Loverink as well. Oh, and Parkinson picks up a stop-go 30 that should be converted to 15 seconds, probably for speeding in the pit lane. And that's sort of the last thing you want to do. But if you're at the back, it doesn't really matter. But that is not how you want to get your race going. Check back in with these two. It's still Clean in the lead, although that gap has opened up. There's a couple of tenths now. It's fallen off, but right now we've got a 3-way battle right now for 14th position. There's Nunez, Parody, and Carpenter. All 3 of these drivers vying for a spot. Carpenter's going to give us a pretty good overview of the gap he has right now. Parody, you can see just how close he is to Nunez, who does go middle of the circuit, has to keep Parody guessing. They both go into turn number 1. Number 23, he's got a chance. Just got to see how much of the track he's willing to explore. Nunez goes a little bit wider. Parody later on the brakes, though. Looked like I don't know if there was a move, but there definitely wasn't. That time has been lost. And for Carpenter, that's great news. Because you saw the gap he had before, and now the gap is quite less. Just about 1.5 car lengths, it looks like. Maybe 2, a little bit over. Everything he's got, trying to find all the extra time out of this Aston Martin. Whatever he can do, bounding over the curbs. Parity goes and opens up the inside. Carpenter thinks about it, but not far enough alongside unless he wanted to go for a dive bomb, and well, those almost never go the way you want them to go. Nunez and Parity both missing the apex. That does give Carpenter a chance to come back into the mix. But by how much? Surely, clean. Again, these two guys head-to-head for position 17. Surely looked to the inside, backed off very early. Almost loses it there on the inside of the curve. Very easy to do so. We'll see if he has a run here. Oh no, he's on the gravel. That's not good. That's gonna just thwart his chances. So we'll keep that on the back burner. Michael Fermato to Keogh. It's less than half a second. Nunez and Parity still very much in each other's bubbles. Parity not as confident, it looks like, compared to Nunez through this section. Nunez sort of just throwing the Porsche, it looks like, and Parity having to back off in the Ferrari. Could be practice, could be something else entirely. We don't entirely know. Brian Rasco, despite Pierce's best efforts, has not found a gap that he can work with. But for Portis, that's going to be good news, because he does have the pace. It's little bits here and there that are allowing him to pull away. Oh, and Pierce, I thought he had a move on the inside just for a moment. But it didn't look like that was the case. Oh, he's close enough for that slipstream to really take effect. So let's see how much he gains here. It shouldn't be enough for an overtake or even a dive bomb at that. Not close enough, and the straight is not long enough for that. Nope, he is just going to sit behind. Wait for the next opportunity to show itself, and then go from there. Although he does have a move on the inside. Rasco a little bit too deep into the corner, but just pulls right back out in front. Very scary situation. Especially going through there side by side and two of the widest cars. That is not really going to work all too well. Kevin Parity's off the circuit. Kevin Parity, what has happened? This is in turn number 1. Let's go on board. Goes for a very late move. Extremely late on the brakes. Somehow Nunez avoids contact. And slots on by, so Carpenter will pick up that position for Parity. He has lost all sorts of time. And now he's got to do one hell of a recovery effort if he wants to find his way back around Carpenter. He was doing extremely well in that regard. Parkinson coming in, I believe, to serve the stop-go 30. So that's going to put even more of a damper on his day. See if he actually stops. No, he will have to stop go 30. Of course he will. So nothing can be done. He'll have to sit there for 30 seconds. And then we'll put him back out onto the circuit. Not the way you want to spend your race, but unfortunately for some, that is the reality of their situation. Braden Thompson, we haven't checked on him in a little while. He's still in position number 6. Fernandez in 7. So despite a very strong qualifying of 5th, you'd think he would have found the pace to get around, but that has not been the scene that's been set for him. But still, just about 41 minutes to go. Plenty of time. So we'll keep an eye on that, see how it goes. Parkinson does clear that stop-go 30. Fernandez's last lap was a 36.4 compared to a 36.7 from Thompson. So the speed is definitely there. It's just a matter of catching him and then getting around him. Two things that are rather difficult to do. Rasco and Pierce as well, still together clean. And Hasser finding a move around Shirley at some point. But he is hungry for more. Two Ferrari drivers. And Hasser just a little bit sheepish. Releases more than maybe he would like to. Trying to find something he can work with while still maintaining a very close proximity to the 99. But it seems as though Klein's gotten the better of the two right now. Although very much misses the apex. And Dave Hasser could find that and use it to his advantage. We're going to check back in just a moment. It's Skylar Loverank in position number 5 with Timothy Flomger ahead of him. You can see how much these two are pushing. Flomger desperate to get away. Loverank everything he can to get around. There's some dust kicked up. I believe that was by Clifford. Yeah, Clifford's lost a ton of time to Landry. There was a couple of tenths between them. Now it's over a second. So Clifford pushing a little too hard and does get bit by that. But right now it's Dave Hasser on the inside as we head down to turn number 1. Is he going to be last on the brakes? He is. Does claim the inside. There is some contact, but he slips on by. And Clean loses 17th position. Dave Hasser up into P18. Shirley's into the pit lane. Don't know what that's all about. But a pass there for Dave Hasser is certainly going to help his efforts quite a lot. And Timothy Flomger with Loverank still taking up the entirety of his rearview mirror, it feels like. He's been sitting there several laps now, and you'll wonder if it's getting to him a little bit. You'll wonder if maybe he's just struggling to keep that image out of his head with that Ferrari. It's been sitting there. Has found quite a lot of speed, though, out of that final couple corners. Perhaps running a little bit more downforce. But that'll open things up. Austin Carpenter on the back of Nunez. And Parody. Parody's done a very good job of actually getting himself collected and closing things up. You think back a couple of laps ago, he was a few seconds behind these guys. Now he's within a second of Carpenter. And Carpenter within 3/10 here of Nunez. Runs wide, has to lift so he doesn't go onto the grass. Parody, I don't know how well his turn was, but it doesn't seem like he's had the same sort of luck. You know, the brakes and just up ahead. That's not Sanchez. That's Shirley, who is getting blue flagged, letting these guys through. That's very close. Parody just slipping on by. Loverank, we check back in once more. Everything he's got to get around. His last lap wasn't as fast as Flomger's, but it doesn't matter for him, because he will just find little bits of time wherever he goes. And this is sort of the main battle. Clifford has caught back up to Landry. It was over a second earlier on. Now it's just about a second. Maybe a little bit less. So his little excursion has not weighed down his campaign anytime soon. And keep in mind right now, Landry, who is in second place, is leading this championship by 70 points. Which, well, for him, would not be too much of a problem going into the final race of the season. If Dornelis wins, that gap should be looking to be about 50 points, which means that the window of the margin of error for Landry is so much less than it has been. And Flomger very, very close there with Loverank. But the exit seems to be where he's finding a lot of his time. So we head down the hill once more. Stornell is still in the lead, 8.1 seconds over Landry. So he took the pole position, got around turn number 1, and just dipped. He was not going to stick around. He wants to win this in convincing fashion. He does currently hold fastest lap of 134 or 135.59. I was gonna say if he's running 134s, he is somewhere else entirely, and I'd be amazed if the tires held on for that long to be running consistent 34s. Hovering very loose there out of the corner. Jonathan Clifford finding himself in a similar situation. Best efforts not enough to close up the gap. Maybe just trying to get into Landry's head, but when you've got nerves of steel and an impenetrable mind like Landry's, well, good luck finding a way to tilt the man. He is not going to make it easy for you. Last lap does go in Clifford's favor by 0.08. Does that convert? That's the big question. Loverink as well is 0.04 behind Flomger. But they've been going back and forth in terms of who is having the better lap, the Constantina effect. So, it seems like we've reached a bit of a stalemate between these two for the time being. We've got to be thinking 25 minutes have already passed. And soon enough, another 25, and then that final 10 will tick away, and that'll be the race for them. As well as everybody else here. But Loverink, every little bit of road he can right now is going to spell the difference between victory and defeat. Nunez runs wide, and Carpenter is going to sneak on by. Same with Parity. Nunez, I was talking about the confidence of his Porsche, and what has just happened is far beyond what he wants. We're going to run this one through again. It looks like Carpenter just scared him a little bit. I don't know if there was contact. It was a little too late in the replay. But Nunez, then he just gets on the throttle, spins it around, and then he has to let everybody else through. There's Hasser. I believe Klein as well has to go through. And then not anybody else too far back but Nunez. That is going to hurt. From 14th down to 18th in no man's land right now. But can't let that bring him down. He didn't really burn the tires too much. He was on the grass, spun it there, so those tires should be fine, all things considered. Look at Brian Rasco. So that gap up to Portis, up to P10, while still quite significant, hasn't grown as much as I thought it would have compared to those earlier laps. He has done a very good job of just making sure his pace overall is faster than Pierce. But for how much longer? How much longer is he able to keep Pierce behind? Especially as a little bit of front end damage shouldn't be affecting performance all too much. Maybe a couple paint chips off, so a little bit of weight reduction. Here's Wilson Fernandez still battling with Thompson for position 6. Has parked it up. So he hasn't really gone for any big moves. We do have a yellow flag out. That's for the 921 of Dave Hasser, who has gone around. He gets on one curb, misses the apex of the other, tries to save it, locks it, and just smashes the front of his car into the wall. There's clean going through. So another position for the debutant. Hasser's in the pit lane. I think the damage might be a little too much for him to really work with. So this mid-pack losing themselves a little bit. We had Nunez spinning. We just had Hasser spinning. We'll see how far back he falls. Edson Mike, though, I don't know if he'll be able to. Oh, no, he overtakes. So Austin Shirley is a lap down, but should overtake this spot. And then Tim Parkinson won't be a threat. So if Hasser comes out of the pit lane, then he should be good to go. Although quite a long ways down the grid from what he was looking at before. Braden Thompson, again, still holding on to position number 6. But Fernandez still just... It seems to be the sort of the story across the grid is having the pace but not being able to convert. We have just lost Dave Hasser. That car has been retired from the session. We'll see if there's an explanation from him. Nothing yet, though, so we'll see. Maybe he'll pop in. Maybe he'll put it in the Discord. But an unfortunate end to this race, so he'll be looking forward towards the final race, rather, at the Nürburgring. That'll be a 70-minute two-stop race, unless we decide to make it a 70-minute one-stop or a 70-minute no-stop. But that would be something I can't quite predict, and I won't have an answer for about another 7 days. But it's Dornelis still very much in the lead. 10 seconds for the Brazilian, just about halfway. So if he keeps it up, he should be 20, almost 21 seconds clear of Landry, who's in P2. Jonathan Clifford falling off the pace right now. He's in P3. It's Timothy Flomger, Skylar Loverink behind them. It's Braden Thompson, Wilson Fernandez, Ben Keogh in the murky waters. So we do see the 21 of Sanchez. Sanchez has spun out of the final corner. Oh, tank slapper on the side and collects the front end too. Well, if I had to bet on it, I'd be willing to say that he just gave it a little too much gas, spun it around, and that is why he is in the pit lane. Thankfully did it right at the pit line, so he didn't have to go all too far, or at the very least go... Oh, that was tight there from Loverink and Mike. But anyways, no, I think Sanchez lucky it happened right there. Can just immediately go into the pit lane, get that damage fixed, and get back out there. I don't know if he's going for tires and fuel or what the case may be. But you think if he's going to fix some damage, you might as well put a fresh set of tires on that car and get back out there. Just under 30 minutes to play here for the race. We've only lost one driver so far, and that is Dave Hasser after his unfortunate spin. So not bad. Wilson Fernandez just now getting around. Oh, we got around Braden Thompson. In the meantime, I don't know how that happened, but for the Brazilian, he's gotten the cork out of the bottle. Now, can he close up to Loverink and Flomger? You can see both of them just up ahead, hiding behind the wall, and then using the natural formations to, well, get themselves a little bit further away. Wilson Fernandez, this is going to be his run. He is going to want to find all of that time he can. Possibly find himself into P4, and then you wonder, is he able rather to challenge Clifford for the position? There's a huge dive down the inside from Loverink, and he does get the job done. The door was open, the land was there, and he's going to grab it. Skylar Loverink into position 4, but does Flomger have a response into the chicane? He does have the inside line. It is going to be a bit of contact from both of them. Loverink goes over the sausages on the inside, but does hold on. Will the stewards be speaking with both of these drivers, or will they let it slide? The dive bomb, very risky, and then that little bit of contact. I don't know. It looked like they both tried to give room, but just ran out of track. Very narrow part of the circuit of Zandvoort. But it is Loverink finally getting around the Porsche. Opportunity arose, and he was going to take it. In the meantime, Eduardo Sanchez out of the pits, down in position 19, is on the same lap as Austin Shirley. So he's going to be looking to gain that back, and then he's got to get around Edson Mike to get back on that lap. They're not... Everybody's on lead lap until you get to Austin Carpenter in P13, as he is a lap down, but should be crossing the line here very shortly to get back onto the lead lap. 20 laps so far have gotten away from us. And Dornelis still with a very commanding lead. I think it was 11.1 seconds was the split. A man on a mission week in and week out. He does not take prisoners. And showing just that here once again. One of the most, I would say, decorated drivers here in North America. Unfortunately, this season, he's had some, hasn't not been sitting up at the top. That's what I'm very used to, is just seeing him sitting up in first or second position. But he's had a couple of interesting results. Has him second overall, though, so is still within shouting range of the championship. And again, if things stand, well, he could have a smaller gap than what he currently has going into the final race of the season. Thomas Pierce has gotten around Brian Rasco at some point while we were watching other battles unfold. So Pierce, now that he's gotten around his competition, does he start aiming for Portis? The gap's certainly there, although I think Portis, yeah, his pace not truly what it is. It is at 36.75, but you did see the Lexus of Mike there, so he probably had to get around that at a less than opportune moment. So it is Thomas Pierce now. Pressure's on him to pull away for Rasco. It's time to get that position back. 25 minutes to go here at Zandvoort in the Simrigs Sprint Series, the penultimate round of the season before we head over to Germany for that final race. And I am hoping for maybe a little bit of weather, a little bit of rain, maybe some nighttime stuff with rain. I know the weather conditions are, I would say, randomized. There is a little bit of modifiers here and there, and sometimes we do get lucky with the rain. But I don't know. Maybe the powers that be in the OR, you know, just sort of, I'll slide them like a 20, and they'll, you know, maybe make it dark and rainy in Germany. But we'll have to see if that happens, or if we'll have a nice sunny race. Heck, I'd even be fine with a night race, because we have not had any of those this season. Quite unfortunate, but that'll happen. Of course, drivers, everybody, I don't think there's really anybody that's opposed to driving in the daylight. But I know that there is a small section of the population that isn't a huge fan of the, of the night racing format. But right now we are in the passenger seat of Flonger's 19 Porsche. You see Lovering just barely ahead of him. And then Fernandez behind. Fernandez has been closing that gap up 0.6 compared to this man right here, and a 10th compared to the one just ahead of him. You wonder, does Fernandez know that Flomger can't hold him back? Does Flomger know that he can't hold Fernandez back? And if he does, will he let him go? And I guess he's going to have to wait for him to actually pull in, and I don't even have to wait because Flomger misses the brake point. Almost slides out there, and Fernandez, blood is in the water. He's a shark, and he is desperate for something to eat right now. So we pull around the final couple of corners and onto that front straight. Porsche looking a little bit dicey on the grass, clips the wall, gets just a tad angled, but recovers it nicely. Flomger's going to go defensive into turn number 1. It's side by side. It's Fernandez a little bit further along the outside. A small bit of contact, but Flomger holds strong and keeps position number 5. But you wonder, if the mistakes continue, if the pressure keeps getting to him, will Fernandez be able to just sidestep and move on? Or will something like that not shake Flomger's resolve? And it seems like it hasn't. Because despite that, Fernandez, that gap opening up a little bit. It was a couple of tenths. It was a little bit more than tenth and a half, and now it's, well, sitting at about 3. Although that was quite the run there from Fernandez. And still on the attack. He had a little bit of something on the inside, but could not work with it. Let's check Flomger again. Does hit the break point this time. Does get the car turned in. Doesn't get sideways on exit. rifling up the gears right now. And now this final corner is where we saw him run out wide onto the grass, had to lift, and was able to get that Porsche together. He does it again. He does get the Porsche around the corner this time without trouble. Fernandez in the slipstream, but not close enough for a move. A little bit later on the brakes will pull him in closer. So this is really where we want to be at the moment. And also keeping an eye on the Pro-Am scene. Wilson not present, so he won't be getting any points this evening. And with Briscoe out as well, this will see Fermato to the front of the pack. To the front of the Pro-Am pack, rather. But then you also have to keep in mind, Parity and Nunez are also in the same classification. So how much further are they going to go up? Will we see Wilson and Briscoe get knocked out of the top three? Or will only one of them fall? That's kind of the thing I'm most worried about. Because if that happens, that Pro-Am category will get even more shaken up going into the final race. Austin Shirley right now with Eduardo Sanchez. Sanchez's race has not been too kind to him. He is finding some time over the laps, but is not able to find it when it matters. His last lap, 3 seconds quicker, but you wonder, is Shirley having to let people through? Is Shirley having to deliberately slow down because of the blue flags? That is something we have to sort of keep an eye on. Thomas Pierce has gotten around, has been around Rasco, but the problem is that gap hasn't opened up as much as he would have liked. And we do see Flomger, Fernandez, there's Braden Thompson, and I believe just behind is Ben Keogh. So you can see the trio up ahead starting to get a little bit closer now. I think Braden Thompson has actually been sort of the big winner of those three, because he has been chipping away slowly at this bit of competition, racing a lot of like wine. Just you let it age, you just let it take its time, and it's going to taste so much better as we slip under 20 minutes to go here in this race. But there's still plenty of time left for overtakes, plenty of time for mistakes, and Wilson Fernandez is trying to do just that. He wants another battle like he had earlier. He wants to go side by side. He wants to go into turn number one, almost level with his opponent. But he's just gonna have to be patient here. And of course, while these two are sort of fighting each other almost, that has given Thompson a chance to reel them in, and does sort of tow Keogh into this as well. So we could be seeing a four-man fight for fifth. Just up ahead, there is Skylar Loverink. And another one of the Aston Martins, I believe that was Parkinson as well, just up ahead. So that'll be a blue flag that has to get navigated. Flomger, every little bit of this track, he is using as much as he can within track limits to keep Fernandez behind. He does have that pace is on his side, though, as his last lap was just a 10th quicker, and that 10th is what has kept Fernandez at bay. Thompson's last lap is slower than both of them, so how he's still able to pull in is something I'm quite interested in. Not certain what it is. This has certainly been an interesting race. In Dave Hasser, he is not too pleased. Not too pleased as, you know, Dave Hasser can be. Very reserved guy, very just relaxed. Hammering sand, if you will, is his reaction to all of this. Again, not too pleased with his performance, but he will have that final week to make up for it at the Nürburgring. And look at the gap. Thompson, I think, has slowly been taking it down piece by piece. And Wilson Fernandez still behind Flomger. Now, there's Parkinson just in the foreground. How much of a hindrance does he become for this chasing pack? Obviously, letting them through here would probably not be the smartest decision. But here would probably be an excellent time to let everybody through. He pulls to the left side. Oh, that's not how you want to do it. This is going to get a little bit scary. He's on the racing line, does go into the wall as he does ride the curb. And because of that, Braden Thompson's going to lose so much time. That was sort of the last spot you want to have somebody be, especially a blue flag. So that pushes him back with Keogh. So they'll have to do all of that work over again. No blue flags ahead of them, so that's a plus. Although any of the blue flags that Loverink stumbles across will, of course, be doubled and given to the next person. Braden Thompson, I think he was a little wide there. That does give Keogh a slight bit of speed. Although that hasn't worked at all. Onto the front straight. So yeah, this is really where we're probably going to be sitting for a while. Keogh pulls to the inside just to show that he's there still. Braden Thompson says, "That's great, mate. I don't care. You haven't gone for a move, so I'm not going to worry about you." Flomger and Fernandez, they have stayed within 0.3 to about half a second for the last, I don't know how many laps, and I am insanely impressed by that. And even when that move was on, even when it looked like there was a change for position, neither of them were startled by it, kept going. Of course, Flomger was the big winner in that. He kept his 5th spot. Speaking of keeping things, Dornelis still maintains that first position. There's Landry, 16.2 seconds just coming through the chicane now. And there is still time for Dornelis to find, well, more. Flomger's gap just staying where it is. That has been his story here. That's been his chapter this evening. And look at that. Braden Thompson still trying to catch up, and he is. You can see the Aston Martin of Keogh behind. Let's look at the gap. It's certainly come down. There's a little bit of dust kicked up. It looks like Fernandez ran a little wide because that gap is 0.7 now. Onto that main straight. We got to check back a little bit because Portis is going through. There's the Audi of Formato, and then the 2 McLarens of Pearson Rasco. Parkinson is getting out of the way. So it looked like I saw the gap for a second go to 0.1, but then I realized that was, again, just blue flags. Which reminds me, I need to hit up either Mullick or Glenn. It's one of the two about this. But the gap from Fernandez to Thompson is about 1.5 seconds. So we'll see how much it goes down, if at all. You wonder if Thompson and Keogh know that they could catch up. Could possibly take the fight to the 2 ahead, and then, well, then it becomes a whole cacophony of strategies and moves and mind games. But the danger would go up, especially, again, Zandvoort, such a narrow circuit compared to some of the places we've been to. Of course, something like Mount Panorama, that is, it feels like barely wide enough for 2 people. Other circuits, of course, Alton Park Other narrow circuits. Suzuka to some extent, I would put it there as well. Valencia was quite spacious. Same with the Glen. And Nürburgring as well will have a nice bit of real estate for these drivers to inhabit. So we'll see who can make the most of that. Ben Keogh was a couple of tenths behind, then was a tenth behind, and now right back to where he started through sort of the mini carousel. Check back, Kenneth Portis. Ooh, Thomas Pierce is finding a little bit of pace right now because his lap was half a second faster. Portis desperate to hang on to the top 10 position. Worked oh so hard for it. Continues to keep it that way. Flomger, I think, a little bit loose there out of the corner. I don't know if there was a slide. It looked like it might have been, but whatever it was, has done absolutely nothing to his pace. And Braden Thompson, again, he's slowly bringing these guys in. Of course, the back marker of Parkinson's did throw a wrench into the works, but the gap has come down. It's now just about a second from 6th to 7th. Could we be seeing these four guys come together by the end of the race? Just under 10 minutes to go here at Zandvoort for the penultimate round of the Simrigs Sprint Series. Landry, currently in second position, is leading the championship. Wilson Fernandez, in the meantime, a little bit of a weave there. I thought he might go for something, but that hasn't been the case. But it is Landry, P2, currently on top of the pile. Dornelis, though, 70 points back. A win here would put him just a little bit under 50, as he does have fastest lap and had pole position. So he would be able to walk away with 158 points for his troubles. But he would still have to finish ahead of Landry, and even then it'd be by a pretty significant amount of positions. I think within the top 6. So Dornelis has a lot of work to do. And then, of course, there's Flomger, who is still being hounded by Fernandez. He is, well, he's very much out of the championship contention, but will look to hold on to position 3 overall in the Pro-Am category. That's where things are really heating up. Wilson is ahead of Briscoe, 245 to 244, but neither of those drivers are present. So, Fermato, who is sitting in 9th position, who is 9 points back from Briscoe and 10 back from Wilson, will take the lead of the Pro-Am classification. And then you wonder, with Parity and Nunez there, 14th and 15th, how much further are they going to move up? Will they move into the top 3, or will one of them move into the top 3? Of course, I'm sure we'd like to have all 5 of those drivers on the grid next week at the Nürburgring. That would be one hell of a fight. And then in the amateur class, realistically, it's Rob Jacques, not here, of course. He's been sort of the only amateur class driver that has been showing up consistently. We do have Mike, Shirley, and Parkinson, 3 new drivers in the Sprint Series. So they're going to be fighting for 2nd and 3rd. And we'll see if maybe if they do it, maybe if they're able to have a pretty strong fight at the final race of the season. But Eduardo Sanchez, he's had a horrible race, down in position 16. Same with Parity and Nunez, having some problems, having to get that sorted out. And the gap from Flomger to Fernandez is 3/10, and from Thompson to Keogh was just about 3/10 there for a second. But still, the battle rages on as we get ready for the final few laps. And I agree with Mike. I just saw it. Rain and night would be a wild season ender. I'll make sure to pass that along to my higher ups here in the OOR. If I gotta slip them a 20 or something, I probably would do that. No problem at all. Maybe buy them a VB long neck or whatever they choose. But that would certainly be quite the season finale, especially, again, if we can get pretty much those 5 Pro-Am rated drivers in the same lobby. I don't know how close the point distribution will be. Seeing all 5 of them on grid would be absolutely fantastic. Same with the amateur class. Of course, Rob Jacques kind of just on his own, as he has been the last while. So it'll be a fight for 2nd and 3rd. And if Mike and Shirley and Parkinson are all here, well, they should keep it interesting. It would be amazing to see that. And then even the fight overall is still on. Dornelis wants that championship, but Landry standing in his way. You have to wonder how strong. Braden Thompson spun around by Ben Keogh. In the meantime, Keogh parks it up and actually, I think, is pulling off to the side. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness, goodness, goodness. Thompson having a lot of problems. That's going to let Formato through. That's going to let Portis through. That's going to let Pierce through. That's going to let Rasco through. Thompson still just having so many problems getting this Lamborghini turned around. Giving it a little bit too much gas. And just kept spinning. Ben Keogh will leave the scene. Doesn't want to stick around any longer than he really should. And that is going to definitely draw the ire of the stewards. So for a lot of those drivers I just mentioned, a free position. Formato, Portis, Pierce, Rasco. They've all picked up something. And Keogh will probably be picking up a penalty in due time. That gap's 16.29 seconds. So even if he gets a 15-second penalty, well, it's not really going to do much because he'll walk away with it. So hopefully there's some sportsmanship between them. It looked like Thompson was almost panicking, trying to get the car in the right direction as soon as humanly possible. But just couldn't stop spinning around and around and around. If there is a penalty that is applied post-race, well, we won't really know about it. So, like I said, if there isn't a penalty by the end of the race, I will certainly let you guys know what the finalized results are of this race. But we can't know for sure. The stewards are going to be looking at a lot of factors that went into that incident. In the background, you just see Brian Rasco slide out. That might have been his chance at P9. Dashed against the sand. And that could possibly be over and out for him. Kenneth Portis. I always love the internal camera here on the Honda. Very clear view out the front, and you have the screen to show you what's happening behind. But he's running out of time. We should have 2 more laps after this before that checkered flag falls. Dornelis still 20.3 seconds. So even within 10 minutes, he's found an extra 10 seconds of pace. How much further can he go by the end of it all? And with fastest lap, 158 points on the table, just has to reach that finish line. Of course, these tires, no chance anybody even gets close to that. Even gets close to that fastest lap of a 35.59. The only driver on the grid who has a time below a 136 as their fastest. And even his laps have been consistently in the mid 35s to the upper 35s, and over the last handful of laps has been trickling into the 36s. Seems he's had some trouble getting through somewhere. So 36.7. Oh, there's Formato getting a little bit loose, and Portis will slide down the inside. And it is Pierce who does look for something, but this trio coming up to the chicane, it's going to be tricky to get through this in one piece. Formato later on the brakes tries to catch up, outbrakes himself a little bit, and that is Thomas Pierce trying to swing it around the outside. There is a little bit of contact as the Audi and the McLaren come together, but it's Portis who does come out ahead into 7th position. So has traded places with that man right there, the number 11, the Audi of Fermato, and Pierce had a chance. Now he's got an even better chance. Has a slipstream, pulls to the outside into turn number 1, but he will have to go a long way around. Does he look for a switchback? He does, but it's blocked off beautifully by Fermato, who manages to hold on to P8. He has completely split up this pro category. You can see it on the scoring pylon. There are 7 pros in those top 7 positions. And then there is a Pro-Am cork in the bottle that separates 9th down to 13th from the rest of that pack. But Fermato, it is going to be one more lap after this. Renato Dornelis is going to be getting around Sanchez, no problems at all. Blue flag on the front straight, exactly what you want. And just up ahead is Kevin Parody, who is off the accelerator very, very early. And he is just going to let that one slide on through. There's Sanchez. Parody is a lap ahead, though, but is just going to let him through. Is going to let the Mexican through. Doesn't want to hold him up, because that could push him a little further back. Well, we check back in with Flomger. Still with Fernandez behind, but it is the white flag coming out for both of these guys as the number 19 runs it wide. So for one more lap, Flomger has to hold on. Fermato, the same deal. Look at the front end of the Audi. It's perked up. It is flapping in the breeze. That is going to hurt the performance overall. Pierce finds a little bit of room on the inside as we head into the final corner. Side by side, finally gets the move done. There's Brian Rasco. I said that maybe he lost a position. Maybe he was out of it. But he's found the pace. He's about halfway alongside with the Audi to turn number 1. Later on the brakes, does go for Fermato to try to hold on to the position. But Brian Rasco finds a little bit of space and goes down the inside and moves into position number 9. Fermato is down in P10. So your top 9 drivers, all of whom are in the pro category at the end of the race. Just up ahead, there's the Lexus there of Mike. This is a very scary place to be blue flagged. He's got to be extremely careful. He's almost racing Portis a little bit as we head up over the crest of the hill, but he should be letting everybody else through here very quickly. And in the meantime, Dornelis, what is the gap that he has over Landry? We're going to see what it is at the end of it all. We'll see what Landry is. He is still yet to finish. Pierce trying to hold on. Rasco still fighting everything he's got left in the tank to try to find a way around. It's going to be a bit of a deep run there for Pierce, but it has worked out beautifully in his favor. We head into the chicane. He is going to hold on. Rasco just a little bit later on the brakes. Fermato misses his brake point. There's Ben Keogh in the background as well. Could Keogh pick up an extra position here right at the end of the race? Fermato runs wide onto the grass, but he hasn't spun out. He kept it going. Keogh can't even imagine a chance where that actually worked out because he is still behind. But as we head out of the final corner, Brian Rasco, he's not close enough. Runs it as wide as he can, but he's too little, too late. And he will finish in 9th position behind Thomas Pierce. Fermato hangs on for a 10th place finish, and Ben Keogh going to send us into the wall right at the end. Braden Thompson is in position 12. He's onto the front straight now. Oh, that's such an unfortunate end for him. He was on for a top 10, it looked like, but contact with Keogh and panicking is what spun him around. There's Carpenter, and in the background, Tim Parkinson to round us out. But, oh God, we only lost a couple drivers, it looks like, at the end of it all. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here at Zandvoort. So let's take a look at your final results. At least final for the time being. Of course, I believe that the stewards are going to be looking at what happened between Keogh and the Lamborghini of Thompson. So overall, Dornelis clears the field and Landry by 23.1 seconds. That is, I think, the biggest gap I've seen here. Of course, the race in EU, I think, was about 20 seconds. So the Brazilian does a little bit better than his European counterparts, but it's Landry P2 who is home by 0.6 ahead of Jonathan Clifford. Landry will be going into the final race of the season just a little bit under 50 points clear of Dornelis. So that window, that margin for error, is not as wide as he would like. It's Lovering and Flomger to round out your top 5. In the Pro-Am, it's Fermato, Parody, Nunez, and Hasser. And then in the amateur class, Shirley ahead of Mike and Parkinson. But overall, an incredible race. Only lost a couple of drivers there right at the end. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here tonight at Zandvoort. We are going to be back again next week for the final round of the Sprint Series at the Nürburgring. And of course, it's not just our series, it's our sponsor series. That's going to be Simrigs out of Melbourne, Australia. These guys have got everything you need if you're looking to up your rig or maybe just get a little bit of goodies for you and the boys. Of course, they're going to be servicing all of Kangaroo Island and Kiwi Island. If you happen to live like me in the land of the bald eagle, well, if you give them an email, they'd be more than happy to do some business with you. And you guys who are Patreon members of this amazing organization, you guys are getting 5% off your in-store purchases. Highly recommend you take advantage of that because these things, they are not cheap at all. But like I said, that's it for us tonight. One more race to decide it. We'll give you updated points, we'll give you updated standings and everything in between in 1 week's time. A 70-minute two-stopper is going to be the final race of the season. We're going to see how that all plays out. But on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, I'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Make sure you like if you haven't, subscribed if you haven't. If you're looking to get into the action, registrations, as far as, if I'm not mistaken, I believe registrations for the next season of Sprint have already opened up, along with the Rookie Series and the Endurance Series. If you're in the AP region, the GT3 Championship as well has opened up registration. So if you're looking to get a little bit more competitiveness in your day, well, now is the time to get that done. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, in 1 week, we'll see what happens. But until next time, stay safe, stay beautiful. This championship, not even close to being done.